They say the worst monsters are the ones hiding behind familiar faces. In a peaceful American suburb where everyone knew each other's names, a mother's screams vanished into the night, and no one saw it coming. What happened behind the closed doors of the Grayson household would unravel a family, a community, and a city's sense of safety forever. If you think you know what could have driven a son to turn on his mother, hit subscribe and share your theories in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our video on the mysterious disappearance on Elm Street. Another chilling case you won't believe is true. The evening air in Maplewood was cool but not cold. The kind of spring night that made windows crack open to catch a breeze. Streets stretched quietly between rows of well-kept houses, their lawns freshly mowed, flower beds neatly pruned. Street lamps cast soft halos on the sidewalks. It was a neighborhood where children played till dusk and neighbors waved to each other during their evening walks. But on this particular night, April 14th, 2018, the peace was shattered in a way no one could have imagined. Inside the Grayson home at 128 Maple Lane, the warmth of ordinary family life was cracking beneath the surface. Jessica Grayson, a woman in her early 40s with gentle eyes and a steady smile, was finishing dinner preparations. Her husband, Tom, was working late at the hospital, a shift that kept him away from home more often than he liked. Their son, Michael, 22 years old, was supposed to be out with friends. At least that's what everyone thought. But Michael wasn't out. He was home, and something was terribly wrong. Jessica's phone buzzed softly on the kitchen counter. A message from her husband. "Running late. Don't wait up." She sighed, a habitual blend of exhaustion and routine. She wiped her hands on a towel and glanced towards the living room, where Michael sat curled on the couch, eyes flicking between his phone screen and the muted television. At first glance, it seemed like any ordinary evening. A mother preparing a meal, a son lost in his own world. But to those who knew the Graysons well, there were subtle oddities. The way Michael barely spoke, the way his gaze occasionally sharpened with something almost unreadable. The silence that had thickened between mother and son over recent months. Jessica called out softly, "Michael, dinner's almost ready." He didn't respond. She approached the couch, placing a tentative hand on his shoulder. He flinched slightly, his expression tightening. "Everything okay?" she asked, voice gentle. He looked up, eyes dark and distant. "I'm fine, Mom." But Jessica sensed the tremor beneath the words. Around 7:30 p.m., a neighbor reported hearing raised voices from the Grayson house. It wasn't the usual domestic argument. There was something harsher, more urgent. Jessica's soft voice pleading, Michael's replies clipped, sharp. But neighbors, accustomed to the occasional spats of young adults, didn't think much of it. The noise died down quickly. Nobody imagined it was the prelude to something far worse. Across town, Detective Laura Hernandez was finishing paperwork in the precinct when her phone buzzed. The dispatcher's voice was tense. "There's been a welfare check requested at 128 Maple Lane. Neighbor called in, heard yelling, and now the house is silent. No answer at the door." The officer assigned, a rookie named Ben Clark, was already on the way. Back at the house, Jessica sat alone at the dining table, her hands trembling slightly. Michael had retreated to his room hours ago, slamming the door behind him. The air felt thick, charged. She tried calling Tom again. No answer. Her mind raced with questions, doubts, and fear she couldn't name. Detective Hernandez arrived alongside Officer Clark shortly after 9 p.m. They knocked, called out, but no one answered. The front door was locked tight. After a minute, the neighbors gathered, their faces etched with worry. Suddenly, a muffled thud from upstairs. With backup on the way, the officers secured the perimeter. The front door was forced open. The smell hit them first, a sharp, metallic scent. The hallway was eerily quiet. Detective Hernandez's flashlight beam cut through the dimness as she moved cautiously. Upstairs, the bedroom door to Michael's room stood slightly ajar. Inside, the scene was one that would haunt her career. Jessica Grayson was found in her bedroom, collapsed on the floor near the bed, unconscious but breathing. Signs of a violent struggle were evident. Broken furniture, overturned lamps. Blood smears marked the walls. Michael was nowhere in sight. The investigation launched immediately. Who could have done this? What was Michael's role? Had he fled? Was he the victim or the perpetrator? As days passed, neighbors recalled strange incidents. Items missing, hushed conversations, Michael's withdrawal from social circles. Jessica awoke after 2 days in the hospital. She could barely speak, but one name was clear: Michael. Detective Hernandez pressed for answers. The son's whereabouts were unknown. But then, a chilling voicemail was discovered on Jessica's phone, recorded just before she lost consciousness. A voice familiar, cold, recounted a series of threats, a final ultimatum, and a promise. This ends tonight. The police intensified the search. The community was gripped by fear and speculation. What was the truth behind the Grayson family's quiet facade? If you think you can piece together what happened that night, hit subscribe and drop your theories in the comments. Share this video with someone who loves a good mystery, and check out our playlist on family secrets that turn deadly for more gripping stories. Because sometimes the most dangerous monsters live under our own roofs. When the son is missing and the mother barely clinging to life, the search isn't just for a person. It's for answers buried deep beneath years of silence, tension, and secrets no one dared speak aloud. But as the detectives dug deeper, they realized this was no ordinary family tragedy. Something sinister had been growing in the shadows for a long time, and the truth was far darker and more twisted than anyone expected. Detective Laura Hernandez sat back in her chair late into the night, the flicker of her desk lamp casting long shadows across her face. The Grayson case was unlike any other. It gnawed at her, not just because of the brutality of the crime, but because of the strange silence surrounding it. Jessica Grayson's slow recovery offered fragments of a puzzle that refused to fit. She was conscious now, but fragile, her memories fragmented like broken glass. One thing was painfully clear: the attack was not random. It was personal, and it pointed squarely at Michael. The early interviews with neighbors painted a picture of a family that seemed, on the surface, picture-perfect. Yet beneath the trimmed hedges and freshly painted doors, tensions simmered unseen. Several neighbors reported that Michael had grown increasingly isolated over the past year. Once an affable young man, known for his quiet charm and occasional volunteering at the local animal shelter, Michael had withdrawn sharply. Some noticed that he often locked himself in his room for hours, emerging only for meals. Others whispered about angry outbursts, snapped phone calls, slammed doors, but no one had expected violence. Jessica's own words, when she could speak, were cryptic but chilling. "He wasn't always like this," she whispered during a hospital visit, eyes distant. "Something changed, but I couldn't stop it." Detective Hernandez's gut twisted. What was the catalyst? What unseen force had turned son against mother? The forensic team combed the Grayson home meticulously. The living room told a story: shattered picture frames, splintered wood, traces of blood on the carpet leading to the upstairs bedroom. But one discovery sent a chill through the entire investigation. A hidden journal under Michael's mattress, pages filled with cryptic entries, anger spilling onto the paper like ink from a wound. "She watches me. Every word I say, every breath. I'm trapped. I hear them whispering. She's not what she seems. I'm losing myself. I have to end it before it ends me." The diary hinted at paranoia, rage, and a fractured mind struggling to contain a growing darkness. Yet there was more. Sporadic entries showed moments of tenderness, regret, and confusion. Detective Hernandez wondered, was Michael a victim of mental illness? Or was there a deeper malevolence at play? Meanwhile, the search for Michael intensified. Police canvassed the neighborhood, questioned friends, checked social media, and tracked his last known whereabouts. His phone was found abandoned in a nearby park, wiped clean of any recent activity. Then came a break in the case. A tip from a local shelter worker. Michael had been seen days earlier, withdrawn and gaunt, feeding stray cats beneath a bridge. His eyes were hollow, haunted. Had he been hiding, running from the law, or running from himself? Psychologists brought in to evaluate Jessica described signs of deep trauma, not just from the attack, but from prolonged emotional abuse. Friends and family reluctantly revealed fractures in the Grayson household. Controlling behavior, heated arguments, isolation, and fear. Jessica had tried to protect Michael from the outside world, but in doing so, had she trapped a volatile storm inside her own home? The case took another dark turn when neighbors reported strange occurrences near the Grayson house. Flickering lights at odd hours, shadows darting past windows, and the low sound of muffled sobbing. Some spoke of a distant scream late one night, swallowed by the wind. As Detective Hernandez delved deeper into Michael's past, unsettling details emerged. A history of obsessive behaviors, a failed attempt at college, withdrawal from friends, and an obsession with violent literature and films. A fascination that blurred the lines between reality and fantasy. But the question remained, was Michael a cold-blooded killer, or a desperate son pushed to the edge by years of suffocating control? What do you think is behind Michael's unraveling? Is this a story of mental illness gone tragically wrong, or something darker lurking beneath? Comment your theories below and don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss the twists coming next. While you're here, check out our deep dive into family secrets. When control turns deadly, trust us, it's haunting. They say the mind is the most dangerous place of all. A labyrinth where reality blurs and nightmares come alive. What happens when a young man's thoughts spiral beyond control? When the voice inside turns venomous and trust shatters like glass? As investigators pieced together Michael Grayson's psychological puzzle, the true horror wasn't just what he'd done, but who he had become. The weight of the case pressed heavily on Detective Hernandez and her team. Every new lead pulled them deeper into a psychological maze where nothing was as it seemed. The Grayson family's facade had cracked wide open, exposing a raw and haunting portrait of a young man consumed by inner demons. Dr. Ellen Marks, a forensic psychologist called in to build Michael's profile, sat across from Detective Hernandez in a sterile interrogation room. Her calm demeanor contrasted starkly with the gravity of the situation. Michael is not your typical offender, Dr. Marks began, eyes steady. His actions are symptomatic of severe, untreated mental illness combined with prolonged emotional trauma. She explained that Michael exhibited signs of schizoid personality disorder with episodes of psychosis, conditions that distort perception, impair empathy, and heighten paranoia. His journal entries, she added, reflect an internal war, a fractured identity battling between love and hatred, fear and rage. As they examined Michael's writings, the chilling tone became impossible to ignore. I'm suffocating under her gaze, every move calculated, every word a trap. I try to scream, but the silence is louder. There's a shadow inside me now. It whispers, and I listen. This shadow, as Dr. Marks interpreted, was the manifestation of a psychotic break, a mind slipping beyond the limits of reality into a dark abyss. Meanwhile, Detective Hernandez reviewed interviews from family friends, teachers, and counselors. One former teacher recalled Michael as a bright student but increasingly withdrawn in his final year of high school. He was always polite, but you could see the storm inside. He started skipping classes, stopped returning calls. It was like he was disappearing. Counselors reported that Jessica had sought help multiple times for Michael's escalating behavioral problems, outbursts, depression, even brief hospitalizations. But Michael resisted treatment, fearing stigma and control. The pattern was clear. A young man trapped between a desperate need for help and a growing distrust of everyone around him, especially his mother. The investigators also uncovered a disturbing detail. Michael's obsession with violent video games and literature wasn't mere escapism. His room was filled with notebooks containing elaborate fantasies, worlds where power was absolute and pain was a currency to wield. Some entries detailed imagined confrontations with enemies who sought to imprison him. Could these violent daydreams have fueled his actions? Or were they the symptoms of a mind already fractured beyond repair? Forensic analysts dug into Michael's digital footprint. His online activity showed he frequented dark web forums focused on self-harm and anger management. exchanging messages with anonymous users who encouraged his descent. One message stood out, time-stamped hours before the attack. Sometimes, to break free, you have to destroy the chains holding you. Detective Hernandez's gut tightened. Had Michael been grooming himself for violence? Or had he finally snapped under years of pressure? In the midst of mounting evidence, the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A close friend of Michael's from childhood, Daniel. Daniel met with police quietly, nervous but determined. "He wasn't always like this," Daniel said. "We used to talk about everything, music, school, dreams. But after his parents separated, something changed. Jessica, she was overprotective, maybe too much. She controlled everything, his friends, his time. It was like he wasn't allowed to grow." Daniel revealed how Michael had confided fears of losing his identity, feeling caged by his mother's grip. He said, "I have to find a way out. I don't know who I am anymore." The psychological picture grew clearer. A toxic blend of control, isolation, and untreated mental illness creating a volatile storm. But the most chilling clue lay hidden in plain sight. A forensic re-examination of the crime scene revealed a small, almost imperceptible smear of blood on the back of Michael's bedroom door. A mark not consistent with the main struggle downstairs. DNA analysis confirmed the blood was Jessica's. This led investigators to a shocking hypothesis. Jessica had tried to defend herself upstairs, possibly barricading herself in her son's room before the assault escalated. Could the violence have been more intimate, more personal than originally believed? As they pieced together timelines, it became apparent that the attack wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was planned, carried out in cold, fractured moments of desperation. Detective Hernandez reflected on the profound tragedy. A son pushed to his psychological limits, a mother caught in the crossfire, a family destroyed by silence and fear. The search for Michael continued, now with renewed urgency. The human mind is a battlefield, and sometimes the war is fought in the shadows. What do you think pushed Michael over the edge? Mental illness? A toxic home? Or something darker? Comment your thoughts and theories below. Hit that subscribe button, and don't miss our next chapter where the investigation uncovers a truth so shocking, it will turn everything you think you know upside down. Also, check out our exclusive deep dive into the psychology of family violence. You won't want to miss it. When the walls start to talk, the secrets they hide refuse to stay buried. Just as the investigation seemed to reach a dead end, forensic breakthroughs shattered the silence, revealing a truth so unsettling it would send shockwaves through the community. But with the truth came devastating consequences, not just for the family, but for everyone who had believed in their story. The case of Michael and Jessica Grayson had already rattled Maplewood, but nothing could have prepared the detectives for what they were about to uncover. Weeks of tireless detective work had produced fragments, clues scattered like pieces of a fractured mirror reflecting a distorted image of reality. Each new piece threatened to rewrite everything they thought they knew. Detective Hernandez and her team gathered early one rainy morning in the evidence room, their breaths visible in the cold air as forensic analysts presented their latest findings. Among the items examined was a small, unassuming USB drive recovered from Michael's backpack. The device, encrypted and hidden beneath layers of files, resisted initial attempts to open it. But after hours of painstaking work, the contents were revealed. The USB held a trove of disturbing materials. Video diaries recorded by Michael himself. The first clips showed a young man, eyes sunken and voice strained, talking directly into the camera, at times defiant, at times broken. "I don't know who I am anymore," he confessed in one video, his hands shaking. "I'm lost inside this house, inside myself. Mom, she doesn't see me. She sees what she wants me to be." Other videos detailed his struggles with control, confinement, and an overwhelming urge to break free. One particular recording, made just hours before the attack, was chilling in its clarity. Michael whispered to the camera, voice low and urgent, "Tonight is the night. I have to end it or it will end me. I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't live like this anymore." The raw vulnerability in those words pierced Detective Hernandez deeply. The case was no longer just about a crime. It was about a profound human tragedy. Further forensic analysis uncovered something equally startling: traces of a sedative in Jessica's bloodstream. Toxicology reports confirmed she had been drugged before the attack. Who had administered the drugs? Was it Michael acting out of desperation? Or was there another force at play? As the team delved into Jessica's medical history, they found a pattern of unexplained prescriptions. Drugs she had denied taking, possibly administered covertly. Jessica's brief hospitalization months earlier was revisited. Medical staff recalled odd interactions. Jessica appeared disoriented, fearful, and evasive about her home life. Detective Hernandez began to suspect that Jessica's role was far more complex than a mere victim. Had she been struggling with her own demons? Was her control over Michael part of a darker cycle of abuse? Neighbors came forward with testimonies that added layers to the story. Some spoke of Jessica's fierce protectiveness, others whispered of bursts of anger, of emotional volatility that sometimes scared even her closest friends. Jessica's sister, Karen, painted a heartbreaking picture in a somber interview. She loved Michael fiercely, Karen said, but she was terrified of losing him, terrified of what he might become. I think she tried to keep him safe in her own way, but sometimes that safety felt like a cage. The community grappled with this unsettling duality: a mother both protector and captor, a son both victim and aggressor. Meanwhile, the search for Michael came to a sudden, heartbreaking end. A local hiker discovered his body near an abandoned railway bridge, not far from the animal shelter where he had been seen days before. Michael had taken his own life. The news sent shockwaves through Maplewood. Detective Hernandez and the team mourned alongside the community. A tragic ending to a story that had begun with so much hope and so much love. The aftermath rippled far beyond the Grayson family. Jessica, now recovering physically and emotionally, faced a difficult road ahead, one marked by guilt, grief, and a desperate need for healing. Community groups mobilized, advocating for better mental health resources and awareness, determined to prevent another tragedy like this. The Grayson case became a somber catalyst, a reminder of the hidden battles fought behind closed doors and the cost of silence. If this story moved you, share it to raise awareness about mental health and family dynamics that often go unseen. Hit subscribe for more stories that remind us of the fragile line between love and tragedy. And check out our video on the silent crisis, mental health in families, because understanding is the first step toward healing. Tragedy doesn't just strike, it echoes, reverberating through the lives of those left behind. As Maplewood struggled to heal, buried secrets began to surface, whispers from the past, that challenged everything they thought they knew about the Graysons. What dark histories lay beneath the surface, and how much of this was a legacy passed down through generations, shaping the fate of one broken family. The streets of Maplewood wore a somber quietness in the weeks following Michael's death. Flowers piled up outside the Grayson home, candles flickered in the evening breeze, and neighbors gathered silently, sharing grief they struggled to put into words. Yet beneath the collective mourning, an undercurrent of questions persisted. Questions about the past, about the fractures in the family no one had dared acknowledge. Jessica's sister, Karen, became an unexpected beacon for those seeking answers. In interviews with local reporters, she revealed a family history marked by hardship. Our mother was strict, controlling, Karen said, voice shaking. She ruled with an iron fist. Jessica grew up in that environment, and I think it shaped how she saw control and protection. According to Karen, Jessica's childhood was far from idyllic. She recalled incidents of emotional abuse, whispered tales of isolation, and an unyielding pressure to conform. This wasn't just a mother and son struggle, Karen said. It was a legacy, a cycle. Local historians and social workers who looked into the family tree uncovered records confirming these difficult childhood experiences, alongside decades of unspoken trauma. Jessica's attempts to shield Michael may have been shaped by her own survival instincts, but at what cost? Neighbors began to recall moments from years prior with a new lens. The once perfect family mask was now seen as fragile veneer. A former family friend revealed a harrowing detail. a police visit to the Grayson home nearly a decade earlier after reports of a domestic disturbance. The case was quietly closed, labeled no evidence, but the memory lingered like a shadow. As investigators sifted through old records, they uncovered a series of counseling sessions Jessica had attended secretly, trying to untangle the knots of her past while managing the present. But the most shocking revelation came from Michael's estranged father, Tom. In an exclusive interview, Tom admitted to his own failings: long work hours, emotional distance, and an inability to intervene effectively in his family's turmoil. "I wasn't there like I should have been," Tom said, eyes heavy. "I didn't see the pain Michael and Jessica were trapped in. I carry that guilt every day." Tom's confession added complexity to the narrative, a reminder that family tragedies rarely have a single villain. Amid the grief and revelations, Maplewood's community response grew stronger. Support groups formed, offering safe spaces for those struggling with mental illness, family conflict, and trauma. Local schools implemented programs to identify at-risk youth, focusing on emotional well-being and early intervention. Yet, despite these efforts, some community members felt uneasy. Rumors spread about other skeletons in the Grayson family's closet, whispers of financial troubles, hidden addictions, and estranged relatives. One particularly disturbing claim suggested that Michael had a half-sibling he never knew about, a secret that had been fiercely protected by Jessica and Tom. Investigators followed this lead, uncovering adoption records and legal documents that hinted at a family divided by more than just grief. Could unresolved family secrets have fueled Michael's sense of isolation and despair? No simple answers remained. Only a community forever changed, grappling with the ripples of a tragedy that began long before that fateful night. Family secrets can shatter lives in unexpected ways. If you or someone you know struggles with hidden pain, reach out. Share this video to spread awareness, and subscribe for more stories that explore the fragile ties that bind us. Don't miss our exclusive documentary, Broken Bonds: When Family Becomes a Prison, streaming now on our channel. In the labyrinth of the mind, the walls are closing in. As detectives trace the last threads of evidence, the portrait of Michael Grayson becomes clearer, a tragic figure caught between humanity and darkness. But the deeper they dig, the more they realize. The true horror wasn't just what he did, but how far his mind had twisted, and how close he came to slipping beyond return. The investigation had been long and arduous, filled with dead ends and haunting questions. But now, the pieces began to click into place. Detective Hernandez sat with her team, reviewing the forensic timeline with renewed intensity. The blood spatter analysis, phone records, and digital footprints all aligned to a chilling crescendo in the hours before Jessica's attack. It was clear Michael's mind was fracturing, caught in a spiral of obsession, paranoia, and despair. The psychological autopsy performed by Dr. Marks offered deeper insight into the young man's descent. Michael exhibited classic signs of psychotic breakdown, Dr. Marks explained. Delusions of persecution, auditory hallucinations commanding action, and severe emotional detachment. He was living in a reality indistinguishable from nightmare. The audio analysis team uncovered faint recordings on Michael's phone, voice memos he never sent. In one, a fragmented whisper, "They're watching me. Mother, she's the cage. I have to escape. I am not the monster they think I am." Another was more chilling, "I'm sorry, but this is the only way." The final piece of evidence came from Michael's computer. Hidden among encrypted files was a meticulously detailed plan, a disturbing account of his perceived imprisonment and his resolve to free himself by any means necessary. The plan revealed a terrifying duality, a son torn between love and hatred, intent on destroying what he believed was destroying him. But investigators found something else, a desperate plea for help buried in code, disguised beneath layers of digital noise. Michael's final messages painted a heartbreaking portrait of a boy begging for release, yet unable to reach out in life. With these revelations, the timeline of the night of the attack became starkly clear. Jessica had confronted Michael after discovering his secret videos and writings. The confrontation escalated, voices rising in fury and fear. Michael, overwhelmed by voices in his head and his fractured reality. Attacked. The sedatives found in Jessica's system, investigators concluded, were forced upon her in a moment of dark desperation. The struggle that followed was both physical and psychological. A violent clash fueled by years of silence, misunderstanding, and mental torment. Detective Hernandez's voice trembled slightly as she addressed the press. This case is a tragedy in every sense. It's a stark reminder of the complex intersection between mental health, family dynamics, and the consequences of untreated illness. As the chapter closed, Hernandez reflected on the thin line separating victim from perpetrator. Michael was neither monster nor martyr, but a young man lost to a mind that betrayed him. Mental health can be a silent killer. If the story resonates with you, please seek help or support someone who might be struggling. Subscribe and share to spread awareness. And don't miss our upcoming episode, When Minds Break, the untold stories of mental illness and crime. Together, we can break the silence. Every story must end, but some endings leave scars deeper than the wounds they close. As the last chapter of the Grayson tragedy unfolds, the arrest that never came and the closure that was painfully incomplete force us to confront a heartbreaking truth. Sometimes justice is complicated, grief is endless, and the ghosts of the past never truly disappear. Detective Hernandez sat quietly in her office. The case files of Michael and Jessica Grayson spread out before her like a shattered mosaic of pain and loss. Michael was gone, a suicide that ended the manhunt but left an aching void. There would be no arrest, no trial, no final reckoning in a court of law. Instead, the story ended in silence. A family fractured beyond repair. A community left searching for answers that may never come. But for Detective Hernandez and those close to the case, closure came in other forms. The investigation's final report was comprehensive and sobering. It painted a vivid portrait of a young man overwhelmed by untreated mental illness and a family weighed down by generational trauma. Jessica's road to recovery was slow and fraught with pain. Physical healing intertwined with emotional and psychological struggles. In rare interviews, she spoke candidly about the paradox of love and pain. "I loved my son," she said softly, "but I was terrified of losing him or losing myself." The community of Maplewood rallied in unexpected ways. Mental health awareness campaigns gained traction. Support groups expanded. Local schools adopted programs designed to spot and help troubled youth early. Yet beneath the progress, a lingering sadness remained. Neighbors recalled the laughter that once filled the Grayson home, the dreams Michael once harbored, and the fragile hope that was extinguished too soon. Jessica's sister, Karen, summed it up poignantly. Sometimes the most tragic stories are the ones that never get to be told fully. The ones where pain is passed down like a shadow, and love becomes both a weapon and a refuge. The Grayson case became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the critical need for compassion, understanding, and timely intervention. Detective Hernandez reflected on the human cost of the tragedy. "We often look for villains," she said, "but sometimes the true enemy is silence. The silence around mental health, family conflict, and the desperate cries that go unheard." As the story closed, viewers were left with more than just facts and timelines. They were given a mirror to reflect on society's responsibilities and the fragile line separating love from despair. Thank you for joining us on this difficult journey. If the story moved you, please consider supporting mental health organizations and sharing this video to raise awareness. Subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that challenge, inform, and illuminate the darkest corners of human experience. And remember, sometimes the most important step is simply to listen.